to week 10 of our daily Bible devotion. Now this week, we're going to study 3 books. These are the books of Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. Now these 3 books are actually the last 3 books in a set of books called by some scholars or theologians as the books of history. We started with the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. These first 5 books, they're called by the scholars as the Torah or the law, because that's how the Hebrews called it before. Now, the succeeding books that followed the law, they're called it history books. The books of history started with the book of Joshua, where they entered the promised land, they conquered Canaan, and then it went through the time of the judges, the time of King Saul, and King David, and the rest of the kings that followed King Solomon. And remember, during 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles, we talked about how these kings disobeyed God. They forgot the covenant that they had with God. And because of that, they were punished by being exiled. Okay, after Deuteronomy, so we have Joshua, we have Judges, we have Ruth, and then we have 1st and 2nd Samuel, followed by 1st and 2nd Kings, and then 1st and 2nd Chronicles. And then the 10th book is Ezra, and then the 11th is Nehemiah, and the 12th is Esther. Now, the books of Chronicles, Ezra and Nehemiah, they're very much connected. How connected? I will read to you the last passages in the book of 2nd Chronicles. And it's in 2nd Chronicles chapter 36, verses 22 to 23. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and also put it in writing. Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, "The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whoever is among you, all his people, may the Lord his God be with him. Let him go up." That's precisely how the book of 2nd Chronicles ended. And that is the opening verses of book of Ezra. Now, traditionally, they attribute the book of Chronicles, the 1st and 2nd Chronicles, to Ezra. Who is Ezra? Ezra is a priest. Now, when King Cyrus of Persia liberated the Jews, these people, they've been exiled for so long, they need to be re-educated. And Ezra is a priest, is a teacher, who was given that task by King Cyrus himself. You see, we mentioned this already last week, and I just need to put emphasis on that because that would be our principle for today. The principle is God can use anyone and anything to fulfill His will. Again, God can use anyone and anything to fulfill His will. Why are we saying this? Because supposedly, since the Israelites were chosen by God, why can it be that just like in the time of Judges, why can't God just raise up a judge, raise up a hero from the Israelites who will liberate His people from the enemies? Right? Because it happened before. Why can't God do that again? Their punishment became so severe, none among them can do it. At least that's what God decided, that none of them will be deemed worthy of being given the task to liberate them. That's why God gave the task to a foreigner. Oh well, this proves again we made this case before in the book of Ruth, that God is not racist. Yeah, we've proven that point. But here's another thing. Even though you're not a believer of God, even though you would seem like you're outside of His family, maybe you'll think, I don't go to church, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a believer. Why would God even use me? I mean, I'm not part of His flock. How can He use me? Guess what? God created everything. If we will not be used by God, if we become so stubborn that we won't allow ourselves to serve God, to be used by God, God can just pick someone else. God can just pick something else. He is powerful. So that is one thing that we have to remember with the principle that we have, that God can use anyone and anything. First, because He created everything. Second, because He is powerful. and sovereign. And third, we are never beyond the reach of God. Maybe Cyrus is not exactly an Israelite, a Jewish worshiper, but he was used by God. God spoke to him and he allowed himself to be used by God. My prayer is that we will become like Cyrus, that we would be sensitive to God's voice, we would be sensitive to God's leading, and we will obey His will.